Hello everyone, welcome back to Marvel Mania. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And today Eric and I are finally watching X-Men Days of Future Past. Eric, we've got like 8 more after this. We are really
in the home stretch.
That's right. This is the home stretch. And I gotta say before we get started, I think the latter stuff has been harder.
Way harder.
And I'm really surprised by that.
Other than the 2 or 3 movies that I've watched a number of times, I don't know these movies as well as I know the Raimi Spider-Man. I've seen all 3 of those a lot. I've seen the Fantastic Four movies a lot.
Yeah, this
mostly
is the
in my younger
part.
years. This stuff I don't know so well.
Well, of course, there have been at least a couple movies that you had never seen, and there were a couple that I had never seen, and there were a few that I felt like I'd never seen because I had seen them one time, and it's been forever since certain rewinds and stuff. But with the exception of Man-Thing, there was always one of us knew it well enough to kind of the other of us could kind of enjoy it and throw in when we had something, but the other person could provide more commentary. And with these, there's a little bit of that, but a lot of it for me is either it's so recent that I haven't seen it, that neither of us have seen it very much, or I've spoken about it so recently that my mind is a blank because I don't want to just say all the things I've said before. And even if I say, look, I'm just gonna repeat myself because I don't have anything else to say, I still I have kind of a habit of trying not to do that, and so I'll try to go to some different places. So it's hard not to just want to sit here and watch these, which is kind of what this show is about. But I want people to have something to listen to. So anyway, Eric has not been on a commentary yet for Days of Future Past, so you probably will get to hear him say some things that he's not said before. Me, on the other hand, I have talked ad nauseum about this film, and as a lot of people know, of course, this is one of my favorite superhero movies now. I love this. It has been tying with X2 for my favorite. It's like Begins and Dark Knight were until I finally settled on Begins, when they were constantly kind of fighting for that first spot. And I think of all the X-Men movies now, Logan is technically, definitively the best story we've told, at least in my opinion. But as far as the movies with X-Men in the title that are not exclusively about Wolverine, it's this and it's X2.
It's probably my 3rd favorite. Not necessarily in quality, but it goes first class X2 this.
Well, and this is like Iron Man 3 for me.
Yeah.
Where it hits me in a lot of places.
And it's funny because I was gonna say that this is gonna be like Iron Man 3, where I know this movie okay, and you know it really well. Yeah. And you have a lot of really specific opinions. Yeah, and like I said, I have a lot of emotion. This movie has a lot of emotional resonance for me, and which I talk about at length in the rewind. So anyway, I'm just gonna have fun watching this again. I always love to put this in, and I was a little bit worried that after Apocalypse it would be kind of hard to go back to this because of some of the things that they didn't pick up on and that they kind of retconned and got away from in Apocalypse. Some of that.
And it has so far not been hard for me to put myself back in the place where I was with this and just enjoy this as a piece, or at least in a companion piece to X2. But anyway, so that's my little preamble.
All right.
Let's go ahead and get started. If you want to watch it with us, get out your DVD, your Blu-ray, your digital copy, however you want to watch it. Get it past all the menus, get it to timestamp 0, and get ready to press play when I say now. Eric, let's get rolling.
Is that sealed?
What's that?
Is that a sealed copy?
No.
Okay. It looks sealed on top. Okay.
Nope, I'm proving it.
We're not actually watching this, but...
This is how I got the digital copy, Eric, which is what I was using when I was doing the rewind. No, we are watching Eric's copy because this is not interesting to anyone, because I don't have the DVD, and the Road Cut one has the Blu-ray, or has the... he just got the DVD, but this has the DVDs for both versions of the film. And of course we are watching this version, which is why I got this out, because I didn't want people to get confused and think we were watching the Road Cut, because of course we said we were going to watch theatrical for everything in the series. And so we're doing that for this as well. And I haven't done a Road Cut commentary. Well, actually, I'm trying to remember if I did one with
No, I don't think we did. I think Shades and I just did this, and then we mentioned some things in the road cut. I forget.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do a whole road cut commentary because it's just a couple of maybe like 15 minutes of like different things you can say.
Yeah, and there are certainly some things moved around and stuff. It is a bona fide different cut, not just some added scenes. But I'm sure we'll mention.
Nice.
I'm sure we'll. Yeah.
It's nice to recut a movie if you're gonna like add stuff to it
and call it a cut
and call it a different cut. Yeah, that's real professional.
I'm sure we'll mention some of those things here and there. There's a whole section about it on the Rewind. I didn't feel the need to do a whole video on that. I even took a poll. I was like, do people want to see me do an entire review on that version? And they were like, no, I think a section's good. And I was like, I agree. So that's what I did. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Everybody, please press play. Get it rigged up. You ready? You ready to do the thing? We're going to do the thing. Everybody, please press play right now.
Star Wars?
It is really hard not to think of this because it has 115 characters and it's trying to be the second part of a trilogy, and it's trying to finish off the da-da-da-da-da! And it's trying to you're gonna see me do that a lot. It's trying to finish off the original X-Men movies properly and all of that. Really hard not to think of this like a 2-hour and 45-minute movie. It is 2:11, and that is madness.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's impressive.
Madness. And this is not a movie that feels like there's a bunch of stuff missing.
No, this holds together really well.
Turns out there are, and we didn't need them.
Well, and you've said before that you think the theatrical cut is the definitive cut of the film.
It is, yeah.
The road cut is.
And Singer agrees with me. Not that we've had a conversation about it, but he's gone on record to say, yes, this is not a the road cut is not a director's cut. This would be the director's cut.
He also went on record as saying Apocalypse was, or Mr. Sinister was the villain for Logan, so, you know.
I know, but this is all retroactive, you know, after the movie came out. Look, I know that he's done some things that we don't like, and
so I have a question
stuff,
right up,
but,
right at the front. The future, dark and desolate place.
Yeah,
it's Patrick Stewart.
Yep.
It's the present. For him, it's the present.
Yes, but he I mean, he's not speaking to anyone in particular. What he's saying. But if he was speaking,
no, explain this.
I will. It won't make sense. But if he was speaking with you know, like retroactively after. No, that wouldn't really make sense. He would have to be. Well, all I was going to say is maybe as he's thinking this in his head, doing this voiceover somehow or rather, he has already interacted with himself in the past, but it would have to be while he's still linked up. It would have to be while Wolverine's still linked up, and that, yeah, so.
Okay.
Because otherwise this is all changed already.
So you've lived with this movie, you know this movie really well.
Yeah.
Who is this person?
Who's that person?
Yes, who is this person, this white-haired person?
I've never thought to look into it.
Because there it looks like it might be Rogue, but then when you see his full face, it's a man, it's not Rogue.
I don't know if it's anyone in particular, I just assume it's
white hair seems real distinct.
Yeah. Yeah, but also that's kind of... It also feels like the look of...
the future?
The future, yeah. We do a lot of, like, you know, different colored hair and stuff.
I kind of wonder if it's supposed to be Nathan Summers' X-Man. I think he has white hair. Obviously, Cable has white hair.
I've never thought to look into it. I mean, the first thing I want to say is, who cares? It could be anybody.
It's a question I have every time I watch this movie,
and
the problem is forget to ask by the time I'm at the end of the movie.
There it is. They just make you wait, and I love it. Makes me so happy. That was not a given. That wasn't anything. No. It wasn't even on my radar. I didn't think of it going in, and it took me right back to high school. X2 is a movie that means a lot to me. I probably saw that 5 times in the theater. I was working in a theater, so I didn't pay for it. But I don't know, to get the theme back, which I always felt like should have been the definitive X-Men theme.
I agree.
And for this to build so much on some of the ideas in that movie, and just, you know, tonally and atmospherically getting back to that place, and then it's also good. Made me so excited. It just felt like everybody involved did not want to miss this opportunity, and we're really glad that they got to come back to this world and play in it again. You don't go back. I immediately thought we were in for a treat and that this was going to be as good as I'd hoped it to be. And of course, getting Patrick Stewart and McKellen back, I was really excited for this. And my expectations were high. Because the idea is so creative that it didn't seem like a thing that could have been phoned in. And then when he brings Ottman back, and again, that's the guy he likes to work with, but when he has him do that theme again, and then he, like, darkens it up like that to reflect both time periods, I'm immediately going, oh no, we're not phoning this in. Like, we're really excited to be here.
Blink immediately became everybody's, like, favorite mutant power-wise. The portals, it's just such a cool effect.
Yeah.
So this is the movie that I'm talking about whenever we talk about, like, people overreacting to casting in X-Men movies. And what people want from, like, they cast Warpath and he's kind of in this movie, but he's not a character in this movie. He doesn't need to be. But because he's a comic book character, like, people were angry and disappointed. Bishop, I guess, is the biggest one that people were angry and disappointed that we didn't do more with, but...
Remember that this is a bookend. I mean, we go back to it in the middle because we have to, but this is the occasion for story. This is the conceit that we've come up with in order to finally get a good cap off for this version of the X-Men and to continue things forward and do a soft reboot. Which has not worked out, unfortunately. This is going to be a really strange viewing, because not only have we had Apocalypse now, but we've also had Logan, and I was so
Deadpool.
I was so invested. Yeah, but Deadpool not as much, because I'm talking about continuity right now, and Deadpool unreliable narrator. It's weird in present day. He makes fun of the whole continuity thing. But once you get Apocalypse, which just ignores a lot of this. And I don't understand that, because it's the same people involved. And then you have Logan, which you kind of just don't even want to think about continuity anymore and let that sit on its own. It feels like the whole continuity is irrelevant at this point, and the soft reboot was kind of pointless. But you know what's nice about it? I can go back to it because, like, when we did the Logan spoiler cast recently, people said, "Cap, why are you spending any time at all talking about continuity? Who cares anymore?" Isn't that really interesting? That, like, you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and those often feel like a new episode in an ongoing TV show, like I keep saying. And the continuity matters because we continue to progress these characters. And we've got X-Men, which is a soap opera, and is about an ongoing serialized continuity. And an X-Men movie comes out, and I'm supposed to not care about what's happened before. It's not that it lives and dies by that. I always say I don't care about continuity as obviously as much as I care about a good story being told. I don't think that's what we had with Apocalypse. I think it forgot about all of this in order to do something that was pretty lackluster, ultimately. But you know what's nice now? This really is the end of that franchise. It kind of is.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go back and watch it that way, and it sucks because it's not. I mean, like some of these characters keep going with Apocalypse, and I didn't love that. But I think the reason that none of that has destroyed this is because it felt like it would have been the perfect way to finish X-Men and never do any more, and like and if you wanted to completely and utterly reboot, even though this would have kind of soft rebooted okay, and I still feel like I can kind of watch it that way.
I had something about all of this.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. No, yeah, this kind of works as an ending to the whole franchise, at least the whole franchise up to this point. It does kind of feel like Apocalypse is not the end of this trilogy and the beginning of the next trilogy or whatever. It's the first movie of a new franchise, and we're keeping some of the actors because they were in the previous two. But, like, this is kind of the ending to everything we had before. And it's interesting, you say everyone comes back. Everyone does not come back for Apocalypse. There's one
I didn't
very
say
important...
everyone did. I said some of them come back.
Well, you said it's the same team. There's a very important person...
I thought you meant actor-wise. Yeah.
No. There's a very important person that does not come back for Apocalypse. And that's Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah, that's
Matthew
a good
Vaughn
point.
breaks story for this. He doesn't write it, and his explanation for why he didn't write it is time travel's hard and he didn't want to have to deal with it.
Right.
But Matthew Vaughn is supposed to direct this movie and then finds out, or he thought he was for sure directing this movie, then he found out Singer had first dibs. Even though he directed the previous movie, he didn't get first dibs at this movie. And I think that's also factors into why he didn't write it himself. But Matthew Vaughn's not involved in Apocalypse at all.
I have questions here. I want to know how Xavier and his group are getting any resources at all. And I want to know how they can keep a plane like that in the air. Because fuel is expensive, and I would assume really hard to come by right now. And that
Magneto moves it.
Oh, I bet he does.
And I'm gonna say...
Okay, but the lights are on.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say Storm, yeah, they keep that energy in reserve.
But it's dark inside, so maybe they don't have lights. Oh, I'm dumb. I never thought of that.
And maybe Storm has like a garden somewhere where like she's making food, like, you know, perfect atmosphere.
I love this choice that this is in Eastern Cathedral. There is a spirituality to what Xavier is doing in this, and Xavier worships hope, and this ends up being like a cathedral. I even in the rewind repeatedly call it the Hope Cathedral.
I like that we do the M scars.
Yeah,
that's a thing
that I think came from that book.
I don't actually know if it comes from Days of Future.
Show?
I can't remember if it comes from Days of Future Past or if it comes from Bishop's timeline, which will later be retconned as being the Days of Future Past timeline.
Is that what happened?
But I think Bishop is where we get that. I was so annoyed when this movie came out watching reviews about people complaining that Bishop wasn't part of this story because he's part of Days of Future Past. And it's a bunch of people that never read the story and only saw the 90s cartoon.
Yep.
And to me, that's one of their worst episodes. Because they ruin Days of Future Past because they merge it with Bishop's story.
He's the assassin!
Assassins! I will say, I have never loved the Sentinel designs.
Yeah.
And the reconstituting Sentinels that, like, react... If it wasn't for Jennifer Lawrence, I don't think that's the way they would have gone. We know very... Jennifer Lawrence has 2 demands on this, and this is now post-Hunger Games. She is now one of... And post-winning the Oscar for Silver Linings Playbook, she is one of the most powerful actresses working. I have to be important and central to the story, and I don't want to be in the blue costume very much. And it's
they
different.
They managed that really well.
And it's different here. It's actually like a body suit. It's not the painted thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, it's a different kind of way of doing it.
That's weird, though, because she's still talking about how much it sucks to be painted up that way all the way up through Apocalypse.
Maybe it's just the face, but I know it's an actual body suit this time.
Interesting.
They tried to make it more
accommodating. They do a great job of
her.
making it look like it's not.
Now, given those demands, they do the best.
It doesn't feel so mandated to me.
No.
Especially because you want to know 2 things. First, what happens with her and Magneto after the events of the last film. She's she's obviously on a different wavelength now, and so you would expect her to be important to anything dealing with him in whatever their next sequel would be. But more importantly, this ends up like this movie is all about taking advantage of ideas and not wasting them. So she has to be central to our story. I know. Let's come up with an actual real explanation for how she becomes such a different character when we get to the first X-Men film. And they took that opportunity and they did the very best you possibly could.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think it totally works. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like they wrote a movie and then she came in with demands and they're like, yeah, I guess we'll figure that out. Like they whatever she wanted, they knew from the get-go and built a script around that. Okay, here it is. This is my big joke.
Okay, sure.
So, Kitty Pryde explains that you can't time travel back that far because it would rip your mind apart. And that's what Wolverine says. What if it can heal as fast as it can rip apart? There's no possible way it's literal. you would go brain dead. Like it doesn't literally mean rip your brain apart. And so I just my read on what's happening is that, because we cut there, is that he goes, what if somebody could heal as fast as it rips you apart? And they're like, that's not what we not. You know what? Do it. We'll see. Let's just do it.
What we mean is,
maybe
you're gonna go brain dead, or it's gonna make you. It's gonna turn you into a crazy person. It's not literal.
If you're that dumb, maybe you will be able to survive the time travel. And
sure, willpower. You mentioned that it cuts. That's great. You mentioned that it cuts there. That is one of my favorite things in the Rogue cut is the extension of that scene, and it is a crying shame that's not there. You know, I say this is the definitive cut of the two we have. There is a third better cut to be made with some of the things that's in the Rogue cut that wouldn't contradict this or make Rogue that I don't want to even say central figure. Obviously, she's not, but that plot point that she is later in the movie. First of all, it gives you what was I going to say? Sorry, I was distracted by Wolverine saying he doesn't have patience and remembering that that's the reason that it's so great that he's the guy that goes back, because that really amps up the drama and the sense of urgency and doesn't make it feel like an excuse to just make him the main character in the movie again, which he's not.
Yeah, which we'll talk about when you finish your thought.
Yeah. But anyway, one of the things is it allows Bishop to speak. And Bishop has a really great accent, and I want him to talk more. My issue is not that any of these characters are not fleshed out the way they should be, because this isn't about them. You need X-Men in the future. They wouldn't all be the people that you've seen before. You would have some young ones, unless, the thing in Logan had happened already, and we didn't have any born for 25 years, but anyway, oh man, my brain's gonna explode with that whole thing now.
Just don't think about it!
I know, but it's really hard not to! I spent so long trying to figure all of this out, and it's really hard not to go there, and it's kind of fun. But also, we have some actual, we get past the exposition, and we have some actual moral discussion about what this does to the people who are around already, and if it's right to muck with time like that, and like, yeah, maybe we'll make things better, but and I like that Bishop is the guy that's asking a lot of these questions. Maybe we'll make, and this is the thing that we always forget to talk about with time travel stories, that I'm always complaining about. This movie does it, but they cut it out. Gosh darn it. Where with the butterfly effect question, you are playing God and making it so that certain people aren't born that would have been born, that people won't be happy that would have been happy, etc., etc. So like, even if overall the world is better, there are sacrifices you're making, and you're actually technically killing people, and like I just want us to acknowledge that more often.
The other thing that I want from the scene where we realize that Wolverine's just so dumb that like the madness of time travel can't affect him. When he goes like, what if somebody could heal as fast as it tears? I want him to then go, I know a guy, his name's Victor. He has a healing factor.
Yeah.
I just wanted to pass the buck. So
we asked this question the other day. When we saw Logan, would he be any bigger than this? No. He is never able to get any bigger than this.
Oh, and I heard him in an interview
That's how big it goes.
I heard him in an interview once talk about the veniness. And he achieves that by not eating for a day. Anytime he knew he was going to shoot a scene without a shirt, he would not eat because it pops your veins out.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what causes that. Okay.
So I was concerned, especially with the marketing, and when I saw the trailer, I was like, we can't make an X-Men movie without being a Wolverine movie. We got one, and then we're going right back to it.
That's not what this is.
No, this is the only person that could have gone back other than Professor X or Magneto. Not even because of the healing factor thing. He's the only person in that group that would have been alive.
Yeah.
And I think
and I guess you could have come up with some other kind of conceit, but it is neat that they did the mind transplant thing, or not the transplant, but like,
and that is what's going on in the comics,
because that's what's in the comics, and it's not cool just because it's going with source material. You are giving your audience some credit for even thinking that we would understand what's going on. Not that this is overly complicated, but that would be the really Hollywooded studio oversight thing to say. No, it must be physically a person that goes back in time. Audiences are too dumb to understand what's going on here. And
I do think he's a little dumb here.
Oh yeah,
this scene is really weird and out of character.
And he has the same problem that he has in the Wolverine to some degree, where he shouldn't remember sleeping with this woman. This would be pre-Weapon X.
Maybe he gets his memories back. Like, there's so much time.
That's the only thing that makes sense. And that's the thing, is you can come up with all kinds of ways reasons it might make sense, and you can also make the argument that there's nothing to give us some of that exposition, which makes it really easy to kind of throw stuff in that you just want to happen and make it seem organic, even though we're not being told what it is. Because I still want to know how Professor X managed to get back in his body.
If this was a much longer film, and more about Wolverine, it'd be interesting if we actually acknowledge the fact that he doesn't remember. He's getting to live in his life before Weapon X, before he has memories.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a cool story. So Chris Claremont's in this scene, and he gets lines, and he's not bad.
Oh, that is Chris Claremont. I never noticed that before.
That's Len Wein. That's Chris Claremont.
Yeah. It's just because I know what he looks like, but I just never put together that's who it is. But so when you said that, I knew immediately which guy it was.
And the bearded guy is Len Wein.
That I did not remember.
Yes. But they both get lines, and they're not terrible. They could be in more scenes like this. There's Len Wein. I don't know if it's Wein or Wine.
It's Wein. I had forgotten what he looks like. I mean, I've seen him in a lot of commentary or a lot of documentaries and things, but not in a long time, and he's older now.
Yeah.
And has a beard. I don't think he usually has a beard.
I almost always know him as with
really?
a beard.
Okay.
Chris Claremont, Blink. I also, isn't there a tad more with Trask in the Road Cut where he talks more about... Doesn't he have a speech in the Road Cut about mutants and about his own being short and how...
No, I don't believe so.
This cut?
I don't think that's anywhere. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I'm so sure I've seen him... Maybe it's a deleted scene. But there's a scene, I know I've seen him talk about... it's like the only scene that acknowledges that Peter Dinklage is playing this role.
Yeah.
And how he relates to mutants and envies mutants and all of it. There's a whole thing.
No. He talks about that in this cut, but he never says anything about his height.
Oh, I thought there was a scene
in either cut, and I talk about that in the rewind, and how that would have been an interesting place for him to come from, where he feels. Where all this comes from his feeling insignificant and small, and that he imagines himself as the savior of mankind, this larger-than-life character, and that he envies mutants, but he feels like he has to take down mutants, because he's got that us-or-them mentality, like Stryker, but of course it comes from a much different place. And of course I compare him to Stryker and Magneto, and I make that kind of a box now instead of a triad.
We didn't talk about this in the Amazing Spider-Man commentary because it's not on the DVD, but...
And then I'll say one more thing about Dinklage. Go ahead.
This is the scene that, for no reason, completely out of context, was the mid-credits scene of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's completely incomprehensible out of context, and it made people think that X-Men and Spider-Man were now a shared universe.
I thought I thought that just gave us a trailer.
No, it's this scene. Or part of this scene.
It would be part of this and then a bunch of trailer, because
maybe it does go into trailer.
Yeah, it does go into trailer. But maybe it does... I think you're right, it does start with a scene, but I forgot it was this scene.
Yeah. Why this scene?
So it does the same thing that, whatever movie it was did with Avengers.
Captain America.
Captain America, yeah.
I don't understand why they picked this scene. Anyways, you're talking about Peter Dinklage.
I just want to mention that the only thing that remotely acknowledges it is the painting on the wall of him trying to help a kid. It's the only thing that really acknowledges the height thing, and this kind of grandiose, larger-than-life way he sees himself. I had a whole read on that painting in the rewind.
Oh, you're William Stryker? I'm sure you're going to be really important in future movies.
I'm sure you're going to get more and more generic every film. See, it's foreshadowing, because she's going to become him.
Mm.
It's not going to matter, but she's going to become him. Okay, so, I'm sure I've talked about this before, but I have this whole thing...
With Toad?
Well, first of all, Toad is weird and shouldn't be here. And it doesn't have to be Toad, it could just be someone else.
No, and this is one of the things that kind of breaks the continuity and timeline thing, because this is pre-alteration.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Why did he need to be here, except that Bryan Singer just wants to put everybody that he's had in these, or in this. It's not like he throws Sabretooth in here anywhere. I don't know why he does that. No, you got the guy with the hand, with the toxic symbol on his hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a thing that would naturally happen.
There is a mutant who has powers that they can use, and they tattoo themselves, and it's whatever they tattooed. I think there's actually a couple of them. One of them's named Ink. One, I think it's kind of like the guy in...
Okay, but that's convoluted, not his power. Like, his power is toxic stuff, and what happens is toxic things happen with when that symbol shows up on his hand. That would not naturally happen. That's a man-made symbol. It's hilarious.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you were talking about the actual tattoo part of it was what was unbelievable. It's that it's the toxic symbol.
Yeah!
You're right.
It's unbelievable if he didn't somehow put it there.
Why would she turn into herself in that moment? I've always thought that was weird.
I don't get it either. There's no other women there. Why would you do that?
It's Vietnam. I don't think there's a lot of women in Vietnam.
You're going undercover. But even if there were, even if there were any, there's none in this unit.
Mm-hmm. Go back to being somebody else.
Yeah.
So everyone knows it's Jennifer Lawrence.
It's a FaceTime thing, and that is a thing that feels real forced in.
And it just gives you more and more respect for Rebecca Romijn, who never felt the need to make it known that it was her, other than the one scene where she turns into just a regular...
She's also not a star.
Yeah. I love Wolverine's look in this. I love his sunglasses and his jacket. This is the movie that made me realize that I love...
You ever notice that's an X? Because I love that.
I did not notice
that. It's really cool.
This is the movie that made me realize I love the 70s, aesthetically. Mm-hmm. This and, that movie with Christian Bale and Jennifer Lawrence. American Hustle.
Oh, yeah,
This and American Hustle
are
the two movies where I was like... And this is not a thing I used to have when I was younger, but those are the two movies where it made me realize, like, oh, I really like how the 70s look. Everything is the worst fashion, and it's the best. I really like the 70s aesthetically.
You know, I just thought of something I've never thought of before, which is very exciting for me with this movie. So, the school gets shut down after a semester.
Mm-hmm.
It's around the same year that the X-Men comics come out.
Mm-hmm.
It's 63, and the school gets shut down, and it doesn't get started again until 73. So basically what happens is the comics begin, and then they're not that popular for a long time, and then in this continuity, the school starts up around the time that people start caring about X-Men in real life. That's great.
It's true. I mean, they get to like issue 70 before they start that reprint period, but
that's more or less right, though, right?
Yeah. No, that's a fun read.
I doubt it's even intentional.
No,
but I bet picking 63, they were probably at least aware that they were starting around the time the comics started.
I forgot to mention earlier because we're talking about other things.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I was giddy about in this movie, and this does come from being like growing up on the 90s X-Men cartoon.
Yeah.
Hover chair.
Yeah.
Oh, so
That
excited
is a
about
big
the hover
deal.
chair.
And it really hovers.
Really?
Yes. Uh-huh. Patrick Stewart talks about how excited he was that it actually hovers.
That's so cool. It is a little slow, and I feel like there's a lot of scenes.
That's why.
Where
That's
he's
why it
probably
actually hovers.
where he's probably like moving, and just everyone else is just walking past him.
And part of the reason I remember him saying that is because Patrick Stewart in his accent instead of hover says hoover, and that just really stuck with me.
He's amazing in this movie.
Huh? Told you. Told everybody.
I just like that he's got long hair.
Yeah, me too.
Because one day he's gonna decide that he likes how he looks bald, and so he's just gonna go with that.
It'd be better if that's what actually happened. See, now it just feels like a stupid irony. Anyway.
Yep, because he had long, beautiful hair.
But yeah, his arc in this is what resonated with me so hard, and still does, and just this idea of using superpowers as a metaphor for natural ability, and the idea that a thing you know you're good at you can't do properly if you are in a really insecure place or if you're feeling really guilty. It's the thing we tried to do in Spider-Man 2 that didn't quite pan out.
Mm-hmm.
And here, it works so well, it made me cry. I mean, it really did. It's one of the big times I've teared up in the theater. Specifically at the scene where, and I talked about this in the rewind, but specifically at the scene where Logan tells him his best is enough. Just gets me right there.
I really like that we went to like a heroin junkie place with The Cure.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really, really like brave way to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what's weird, because I can complain about Jennifer Lawrence all day and her massive ego. Hank is not a huge star. Is it just that we're afraid of the makeup, that he has to still be human? I mean, like, I know he invented this cure for Xavier, but I really don't like the Beast changing back and forth thing. That feels like we either think that's silly looking or... like, because he's not a big star. Like, it's not like he needs FaceTime.
It has nothing to do with that, and I don't know why that would bother you. That's in his character. That's what he would do. This is a guy who doesn't want to look like the Beast. If he can not look that way, he's gonna not look that way. He's the guy that told Mystique last movie, why wouldn't you look normal all the time?
But
he's not gotten over that.
But he physically altered his body, and like I don't feel like the thing that works for Professor Xavier should also work for him the same way. Like he already tried this and messed up on himself. Like I don't know. I don't like that he's not Beast. Like that should be a permanent scar of his mistake and getting it wrong. He should have to live with that. He did it to himself.
Yeah,
the fact that he can turn it off.
Yeah, just looking at his arc and his character, but the problem is to have. We need that serum. Hear me out for a second. We need that serum in order to have a conceit, so that we can have this. You can have one or the other thing you with Xavier, which is certainly kind of easy, but I really like it thematically, of course, that he can either walk or he can read people's minds, and that's a whole thing I like a lot. But if it's gonna be derived from that formula, it would work on Beast the same way, so he would be using it.
But he already altered his body. I feel like there should be some kind of thing where he's like, why don't you use it? Well, it doesn't work on me. Because I already messed... I don't know. I really feel like he should have to live with what he did to himself.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, obviously, Xavier is having to live with what Magneto did to him.
I do not know how turning off your powers gives you legs, but
yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to question that.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's a conceit.
That's what I'm saying. That is a conceit. I mean, he's not having to live with what Xavier, or with what Magneto did to him exactly, unless he's not, on the medicine. But
I can go back to First Class, and I can find that
thing.
exact frame that picture's taken from.
Yeah.
I don't like that in movies. Like, that's a real minor nitpick. I hate that when like somebody,
screenshot?
Yeah, when somebody has a picture, it's a screenshot, and I'm like, there was no cameras around. Like, and why would you keep that picture? Like, Jennifer Lawrence is on set. Take a picture with her. I don't understand. It makes it seem like the only things you ever experienced together is what we saw.
I resisted that flashback initially, and then I decided that there is so much going on in this movie, and there's no way to get the exposition out again. We need to be reminded. I don't mean that this is a movie that necessarily needs to be easy for anybody to see if they haven't seen First Class, but even if you're familiar with that movie, you might forget that he said, "You don't have to steal again, that's a promise." And that's not made a major plot point in the first movie, that he promised her something. It's actually kind of important that we're reminded that he feels and why he feels responsible for her. So I think actually that was the only way they could have done that. Usually I really resist that, though. This whole thing is really weird. That
we've talked the magic bullet.
No. We can talk about that. But
because I just run with it and you try to think about it.
Spent a lot of time on that in the rewind. That's a page and a half. Yeah. Look, if you are aiming at a person,
and you're trying to aim it away, and then some distraction, it shoots across. It's still got the force behind it.
No. But the shooter aims directly at the president. Mm-hmm. He fires. Mm-hmm. Magneto is trying to move the bullet so that it doesn't hit him. How does it hit him?
Well,
the only way
he's moving it away, and then something distracts him, and so it still has the force, and so it moves, and that's how you get the...
Have you ever looked at pictures of where the shooter would have had to have been versus where Kennedy is? I mean, that's like a split second. Like, he's not that far away. I just don't see how the trajectory works.
Right, but
I don't understand
here,
that.
But the bullet comes from here. That's the whole thing, is that the shooter is supposed to be behind him, and Kennedy's head goes back when it takes the bullet, and the back of his head comes off. So he's shooting here, Magneto is moving it away, and then somehow it goes back. That's why Kennedy was killed by a magic bullet.
Right, but what would make it come back, though?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
That's my point, is nothing would make... That's the picture.
Yeah.
No, it's really important that she's in a wheelchair and he's over her and he's got the metal arm and he can solve her problems. And I love that, because that is exactly what those Saturday Evening Post pictures looked like. I've actually sold a lot of those on eBay. The circa 1920s, 1930s Saturday Evening Post. Those are really cool to get my hands on and look at. But yeah, I don't understand how that trajectory could possibly work. But anyway, there was something else.
People don't understand how that trajectory works in life.
Yeah, no, I get that. But hear me out. Magneto's powers are supposed to be an explanation for the curve, but it makes less sense now. If it's on its way and he moves it, there's no way it hits him.
That's a cast of First Class getting taken out of this movie so that we do not have to deal with that many characters.
Yep.
Which I do not like.
Well, but again, it manages to do it in a way that serves this character and is surprisingly organic, even though I kind of questioned their being able to get all of those mutants without any of them escaping with some of the powers they have.
It feels like this should have been the third part of a trilogy.
Don't they kill Emma Frost? Like, I feel like...
I don't remember if Emma Frost is in those pictures. I mean, we just looked at them. I don't remember seeing Emma.
No, but Magneto mentions her.
Oh, yeah.
He's got his list of people, and he says Emma, and I'm pretty sure...
Emma Frost would not have gone to Vietnam. She would have been a draft dodger if she was drafted, and she would have been drafted.
But yeah, Mystique has to be sufficiently rattled and angry, and that's why she is. So I mean, like she needs a motivation to go try to take Trask out the way she does, and that's that motivation. So it's not just there to not have too many characters.
It feels like this should be the third movie. Like I feel like we should have had more of those because we're
me too. I really
left in
resist,
First Class as a.
I resist one semester. I mean, I really do. But it also makes him more tragic. I mean, it's really hard not to just look at what you would expect because of what the comics do, and B, what you want. Also, somewhat based on that.
Well, it's not just about the comics; it's about where we left them at the end of the last movie, and what was kind of promised by that ending.
Okay, well, for me, it is somewhat the comics in that it is really weird to imagine Xavier opens the school and doesn't have a school for 10 years. You want them to actually be the first class, is the point I'm making.
Yeah, yeah.
So Quicksilver.
This is not how video games work.
Yeah. So Quicksilver is inspired, absolutely inspired. Was originally supposed to be Juggernaut, I think.
Yep, that's the one thing that we know is a change from Matthew Vaughn's story outline is that it's originally Juggernaut.
We managed to make him a really interesting character in the little screen time he gets, and it's really easy to just look at him as comic relief and as a plot device, and then you get a shot of him toward the end when he realizes that his father is, it looks like he's ending the world, and there's a lot more going on there than just a plot device. It's great.
He doesn't know it's his father in this movie, right?
Yes, he does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he figures it out at the Pentagon.
Well, I know he has that line, but I always took that as like a fan nod thing.
No, that's not what it is. That's He knows it in Apocalypse.
I know
that's why he knows it. Or at the very least, he's suspecting. I mean, he may not know it for sure yet, but there's a reason he's got that look on his face. I don't know if you remember that we cut back to him.
Yeah, no, I do, but I always took it as just the world's watching kind of a thing.
Yeah, there's more going on. I also, I don't mean to talk too much about my own videos, but one thing that I noticed doing that video that I thought was hilarious is that Magneto is taking apart the stadium, and there's a big Mountain Dew sign behind him, and then when we cut to when we cut to Quicksilver watching the TV of this happening, he's got a Mountain Dew can sitting on a table like right next to him, and it's hilarious. It looks like that's their big point of contingency is he loves Mountain Dew. And Magneto does not like Mountain Dew.
Almost as if they were paid to put Mountain Dew on the screen.
It might have more to do with that. Yeah, it might be more of a product placement. That's a good point you're making.
I like seeing a still kind of advanced science fiction-y, but low-tech compared to what we did in 2 Prison for
yes,
Magneto.
Absolutely.
I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, all those parallels to X2 are really cool, and there's very little that feels like we're just redoing that film. Some really neat kind of foreshadowing things, if you like, or just comparison, and that's one of the big ones. The plastic.
This is where he goes instead of coming back for Kick-Ass 2, Quicksilver. He does this movie and doesn't have time to do Kick-Ass 2. He's in Kick-Ass 1. He's one of his friends.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, and then Kick-Ass goes on and plays the other Quicksilver, which is hilarious.
Yeah. Now, this is a thing... I think the trailer for this movie is cut more dramatic than this movie actually is, or darker than this movie actually is, and this was one of the big scenes when you have Magneto and the glass is falling on him. And it's not a big dramatic scene. Not like it's cut in the trailer.
That's true. It's almost like they're trying to harken back to his prison breakout in X2 in the trailer, but not as much in this. I mean, obviously, he's breaking out of a prison in both those things, but in different ways. I mean, there's a scene in this that harkens actually back much more to his prison break, which is when he grabs the helmet with his mind, and he takes out those guards and stuff. That's a lot more like what he does when he breaks out of prison with the metal balls he throws everywhere. Another parallel, just scene-wise, to X2 that I like a lot is that I meant to mention earlier is Mystique looking at the files.
Yes, and then turning into somebody else. And
exactly, yeah, and in a lot of way I like that is because she is that really cold, heartless, no nonsense, doesn't hardly speak character, of course, when she does it the second time, and that's the moment that sets her on the path to becoming that. I love that. This is a really good reason to do that scene again. Which do. He's hilarious. Oh, I never noticed that. I never noticed that he said the S word after. That's really funny.
To the guard.
It's great that we're able to get any comedy mileage out of Xavier where his head is at, and that's believable. He still is just not a naturally deceptive or violent person. He's the last person on Earth without his powers that should be attempting this mission.
He does have like a facial reaction like,
oh.
Huh.
Because, I mean, keep in mind, we don't see a lot of mutants that have the same powers.
Mm.
And we don't even know about very many mutants yet at this point. So the odds are real slim. You're right, I mean, he doesn't have anything to go on.
Mm. Except for telepathy is the one power we see repeated quite a few times. We meet a number of telepaths.
That's true, but it's usually there's something else that goes along with it, or it's of different levels. You know, if you want to use that like level number thing, they have an X3 that never comes
the Omega level
again. Yeah, but they have like the level, the like level 1, level 2.
Yeah, I think it
goes up through like 5. Yeah.
Oh, Omega's in the comics.
Yeah, they say that Jean Grey's a 5.
Yeah,
and nobody else reaches a 5. Now I will say that I don't want to say that doing this again in Apocalypse hurts the scene.
Well,
but it is hard not to think of that scene.
I was about to say
I wish they hadn't done it again.
This scene is inspired and brilliant.
Yeah,
and it would be real foolish if anyone ever tried to like try and do this scene again and made it like twice the length.
Next movie.
Meanwhile, and while people were like dying, like that'd be a real bad way to do that. Is if you did this scene and then.
But talking about this scene in this movie,
it's great.
It is ultra inspired, and I love all the personal details we're getting about him with how little on screen he is. He's got a real distinct personality. It's so cool. I complain about this every time I've ever looked at the scene just because I think it's a really fun thing to think about, and it's hilarious. He can't be listening to this song in regular time. So, like, is it, like, way super slowed down? What is going on? How does that work?
Well, and also Walkmans didn't exist. But my natural...
That's true. There's an explanation about that that's not in the movie.
Is there really?
Yeah, and I can't remember what it is. Singer or that actor one talks about it somewhere. Where if you look at it really closely, it's clearly like a prototype kind of Walkman. It's like a pre-Walkman thing, and I can't remember if they said that like he built it or he stole it from someone or what it was, but But they kept that in mind. They know that.
My assumption with the music thing is somehow when he moves super fast, it creates like a bubble. Like that's also why his clothes don't like inflame. Like kind of like how John Byrne explains, like Superman's costume is ripped because he has a barrier around him and it's so close to him that somehow that's also moving in normal time with him. Like that's my assumption.
Oh, okay. It's like a pocket of time or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. I love comic books. So, the Imagine they were metal line.
I hate it.
Here's why it could be great. Well, okay, it still is maybe kind of silly because obviously we're just playing with in the other movies he controls his metal body, and why would he even think of that here? I get that, but I think I think it would work better if Singer had done the thing he talked about, where we're told that in the future Magneto gave him his metal back.
I don't think that fixes that line.
It doesn't fix it.
Why would he say it?
Yeah, I mean that's still a question.
Do you think like he goes to like McDonald's
he says that to about everything,
and like he gets like the wrong burger and he picks up, he's like, imagine this was metal. Or like the silverware.
Yeah, there's not really any reason that just because you have bone claws. Yeah, I guess now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, do you ever associate metal with bone?
Yeah. Like, wouldn't it be really cool if those were metal? And see, he'll mention Emma here.
Yeah.
I don't think we see her in those files,
but
I know you really liked him.
See, he's messing up the plane here. adding credence to the fact that in the future he's flying the plane.
Okay, sure, that's a good point. Imagine if it was metal. Oh, it is metal.
Last thing about Quicksilver.
Yeah.
He is the exact opposite of who he is in the comics, and I think that's kind of interesting.
Really?
Oh, well,
that's not a character I know anything about.
Quicksilver is a complete jerk and has a real short temper. And that's just who he is until the early 90s when Peter David explains it, which is, the explanation is, do you know how you feel when you go to the bank and you're standing in line and
everything moves too slow?
Everything moves too slow. He goes, that's how I am. That's how I feel every moment of every day.
Well, and what's cool is he has that in this. He just has a better coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm. And he could grow up to be more bitter.
Peter better. Yeah, but he also feels like he's going to grow up to be a majorly important X-Man.
He does.
He really does. Once we get to the next one, it feels like he's going to be teaching classes and stuff. And I would like them to keep going with that. I mean, I like the idea of him as kind of one of the original X-Men.
The problem is
just this version of the character.
We're gonna cut 10 years ahead again, and he's gonna look the exact same age. Which we forgot to mention. Havoc's in this for 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet you normal people will talk about when we get to Apocalypse. No one remembers who he is. I remember because I watched First Class quite a bit.
No, I disagree with that.
Really?
Yeah, I disagree with that. People don't. I don't think most people going to Apocalypse forgot about First Class. I don't think it's the same thing as Begins in Dark Knight.
Okay.
This movie was a lot bigger than First Class, but I think it also, I was going to say rides on First Class. That's not fair, but I don't think it's like Dark Knight where it's easy to watch in a vacuum. You need First Class. I mean, these guys are in, especially Magneto and X, like they're in a real specific place.
That's true.
Emotionally and based on the events of that movie. It's hard to just jump in on this.
Now, if
anybody that just goes to Apocalypse, maybe not anybody, but a lot of people that would just go to Apocalypse because it's an X-Men movie and they saw it advertised, and they don't remember First Class, they might not remember this movie that well either.
Well, but Havoc's not a major character in that movie. He doesn't come in until halfway through. Like, I could see people forgetting Havoc and Angel and Banshee. That's not the things that stick with you. Now, if I had the power to become...
The problem is, the title is First Class. So even though they don't have major character arcs, and it's not really about them, you're paying attention to them in a way you might not other more minor characters that are just thrown into an X-Men movie because it's called First Class. You think they're going to matter more than they do. And so if you saw that movie, I just think he's memorable.
Now, if I had the ability to become anyone...
I see why you're saying that, but...
I don't think he sticks with people. But if I had the ability to become anyone...
It's not the same thing as Bucky, though.
I think maybe because he's not in this movie except for like 6 seconds. Like, there's a whole movie in between.
Yeah.
If I had the power to become anyone...
Yeah.
And I was going around and I was doing all this stuff. Maybe this terrorist-y stuff. You know what I wouldn't do? I wouldn't become the same person every time. So anytime there's ever a picture taken, I have the same problem as every normal person that would be trying to do that. I wouldn't do that. Also, I think it's weird that... I always think this is weird. This is a thing that we do in X-Men movies. That, like, people are horrified by how she looks. Like, she's still an attractive woman. Like, I don't know. Am I wrong there?
Yeah, because...
Like...
They don't even know about mutants. Hardly. I mean, like, they've just... 10 years ago, there was an incident, but people don't really know much about
But she's
mutants.
really judgy about it. Like, oh, you think I look gross? Like, no, just give me a second.
Yeah.
You just completely blew my mind.
No, I'm with you there, but I thought you meant that he would have the reaction he would have. I don't know. She transformed.
Yeah.
It kind of doesn't even matter what she transforms into, and you're right, she's maybe making a little too much of a leap going, you don't think I'm pretty? Like, if you gave me, oh no, you're super attractive.
But give me a second to adjust to the fact that my entire worldview just altered.
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible. Okay, so this is where he's talking about JFK. Mm-hmm. He says he was one of us.
Mm-hmm.
That means he's a mutant.
I imagine his powers are not dissimilar from Purple Man's.
Yeah, yeah. I want to know what his powers are. And that's not really a criticism. I just thought this was such a cool idea that my mind was racing. Oh boy, what are JFK's superpowers?
I think I talked about this.
But there is a big question, which is how did he know that? And I asked that in the rewind, and there were several commenters that suggested he probably used Emma Frost, and I hadn't thought of that. That's probably what it was.
I think I might have mentioned
But I might have liked that in the movie. Just because he doesn't even question it, and he doesn't have his powers now, so you can't say, oh, he's reading his mind. And Xavier's not asking, okay, but how did you know he was one of us?
I might have mentioned this in the First Class video, but this idea is Matthew Vaughn's first idea. There was an interview that I read post First Class where they asked him about a sequel, and he goes... And like he said, I don't have the story yet, but I know what the opening scene is, and it's that. When he finishes First Class, the big idea he has for the second one is Magneto. Well, he phrases it like Magneto kills Kennedy.
Yeah. And I was really leery of the viral marketing because, and I don't know if you saw it, but it was cool. They have a whole conspiracy theory tape about the curved bullet.
Oh no, I never saw that. That's cool.
There's like 5 or 10 minutes, which is part of where I get my questioning of the trajectory, because that doesn't give it to me. But anyway, I questioned it because it looked like they were going to do the obvious thing. That, oh, okay, we made a major character in our story the explanation for the death of Kennedy. That's the obvious thing to do. You're going back and doing more alternate history stuff. I was floored in the theater.
Me too. No, I was real shocked that they went the other way.
That is a wonderful scene. Really messed with my expectations. And makes him sympathetic again.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that in that particular case, he wasn't even doing anything morally ambiguous. He was trying to save the president.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did nothing wrong there. I really like that the thing that gets him thrown into the Pentagon prison
is him doing the right thing.
Is him doing the right thing. That's wonderful. Because then he has a real argument when he tells Xavier, you should have been on my side the whole time. And obviously, he's still too extreme that he's not he's not fully right about what he's saying, but he hasn't done anything wrong yet.
So this little device he's about to pull out, the mutant finder device.
Mm-hmm.
I love that it looks like a baby's toy.
It definitely looks like 70s technology.
I also like that it has no directional, like, it can't tell you, like, where the mutants are. There's just, I got a reading.
I really like that, that they throw in a mythology explanation for how he came up with the name Sentinel, which is, you know, the obvious thing. But I just like that it's in there. They don't just call it the comic book thing because that's what it's always called. Mm-hmm. He came up with it. Mm-hmm. We don't have giant robots, and then the news is like, and people are calling them Sentinels.
Yeah.
So that's good. When Empire,
there it is. There's the baby toy.
There it is. Oh, you're right. It does. Or it could be like an air freshener. Or you know what it is? You won't appreciate this reference, but I'm going to make it anyway. It is a giant version of the Doctor from Voyager's holo emitter. It's shaped exactly the same way. He's got this piece of technology they get from the future that allows him to leave sickbay because he's a hologram, and I don't know how this works because he's made of light, but he can put a thing on that generates him in the first place that sits on his light. Sure. Okay. But anyway, it's that, but much smaller. Never noticed that before. Wow, your English is great.
I was more impressed by how good Mystique's Vietnamese is.
Yeah, but remember that we actually get to see Jennifer Lawrence speak it.
No. Well, yeah, but when did she learn that? I guess in Nam?
Yeah, I guess she was just in Nam for quite a while. But I didn't think it was cool that they had her speak it and that she committed to it and it sounds really good. I mean, not that I know what Vietnamese is supposed to sound like, but like to my untrained ear, it seemed like she did a pretty good job with it.
Now, I will say in this movie, when I first see this, I do not have opinions on Jennifer Lawrence, and I don't know much about her other than she's in these Hunger Game movies that I haven't seen. But in this movie, she really turned me around. Like, I think she's one of the weaker parts of First Class, and then I saw this, and I was like, oh, she's really good.
Yeah.
She's really got... I guess she's got more to work with in this, but...
And I mean, I know you don't like that she maybe forced herself to be a bigger part of this movie, but again...
I don't mind that. Really it's what it leads to in Apocalypse.
But what I was going to say is, A, the story's good, and B, at least she commits to it. It's not like what happened with Storm when she insisted on that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that's a weak script, and if you gave Halle Berry better material, maybe she would have been better in that film. But
I've seen Halle Berry in a lot of movies. I don't believe that.
I don't know, but but I don't know. I mean, like, her acting could have been elevated by better material. I don't know, but she gets a leadership role in that film, and because she insists on it, and then she does nothing with that.
I love this.
Yeah,
this is one of the coolest things.
So you'll notice this bullet curves, and that's kind of neat.
Yep.
That I love that we don't have a flashback to the JFK thing. It's really nice that, again, they give the audience credit. They don't feel the need to do that. But now we get to see it actually kind of happen.
But I also want to know, like, after it goes out the window, he can't see. Like, how does he do that?
You know, I wondered that.
He loses line of sight.
Yeah, I wondered that, and I feel like I had come up with kind of an explanation for it, maybe. And now I don't remember what it was. But yeah, I always kind of wondered that, too.
Because it makes more sense if it hits her as she's, like, jumping out the window.
Yeah.
Like, it's after she's fallen a little bit. That's cool. Okay, so... Wow, that footage is too good. Like, what was the point of doing this if you weren't going to make it grainy? But that one moment, like, it looks real clear to me.
Oh, I always thought that all looked really great.
But
yes,
the
Striker. But that's really sad that we get a glimpse of X2 Striker, and then before our eyes see him transform into a guy that He's not interesting and is a totally different character. And, like, I get that bad things happen to him later that make him more interesting, but he doesn't even have the accent. We've talked about this, but...
The shot of her... I bet you this isn't something you thought of.
Yeah?
The shot of her when she stands up...
Man, I'm just racking my brain. I know the curved thing made sense at one point. I can't remember. Anyway, sorry.
When she stands up and then looks at the camera, there's very famous footage of like Bigfoot or something. That is, it's this grainy thing that was shot in the 70s, and it's walking, and he looks and he turns at the camera and then like keeps going. It's almost the exact same shot.
Oh, interesting.
It was a lot in all those like 80s TV shows about like the weird things in the world. What's the one that's that Leonard Nimoy hosted?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So it's in a lot of that kind of stuff. It's a really famous like supernatural conspiracy kind of footage, and we also go back to it in Signs. The first shot we get of the aliens in the crowd where they just walk past the birthday party and turn and look. That's also based on that footage. I just thought that was a cool thing because I think that footage comes from the 70s. Like, I liked that.
Yeah, I just didn't know about that. Now, you could make the argument that if
you can make those cars move faster,
that if the link is broken enough that Logan's 1973 personality reasserts itself, that it really should shut all of this down.
It should completely alter the future. Immediately.
Well, no, because the link's not actually broken. But I have a hard time buying that the link's not broken if he takes over again. Because the idea is supposed to be that as long as that link is connected, the future's not going to change yet. That's the conceit that allows this. Just since you said that, I felt the need to say that. But
well, I guess the link isn't broken.
But the link isn't fully broken, and I just have a hard time buying that his personality would reassert itself. That it could reassert itself, and that he would be totally missing from it, and that it hasn't reset time yet. I don't know.
Now, so Magneto kind of flipping.
That's actually pretty great.
Here and then, kind of being the bad guy of this film is an echo of X2.
Yes.
It works in this film.
Yeah.
But it is the 5th film. And he's the bad guy of X-Men 1. He is the flip bad guy at the end of X2. He's also the bad guy of X-Men 3. In First Class, he again becomes the bad guy at the end of the movie, and then at this movie, he becomes, like, there's a pattern that's getting real tired by the time we get here, I think.
I know you complain about that a lot. I don't feel strongly about it. I think it's a problem in specific films. I don't want to count them all together like that. So like X2, it's just what he would do. We've got him in that movie, and he has to do that for the interesting triad with Stryker and Xavier. Same thing really here. X3, yeah, maybe don't even put him in that movie, or have him as the head of the Brotherhood, but focus on another villain or some other villains. I definitely don't like it in Apocalypse. But I don't know, it's just specific movies. I think what you should be complaining about is that we feel the need to keep putting him in the films, because if he's there, he's doing what he would do.
Well, and we keep putting him in this role where it's like, can we trust him? I think we could trust him. Oh, no, we can't trust him! And, like, First Class gets it because it's the first time.
Yeah, but this is also the first time. And you can't count First Class. He doesn't turn into the bad guy in that movie. I mean, that's a real oversimplification of what's going on there. He is going up against the bad guy and murders him.
We need to make some X-Men movies without Magneto, is really what comes down. Because if there's movies in between these movies, it's not as prevalent.
I just wanted to get you to say that.
Yeah.
Because that's the real problem.
It's that we made 5 X-Men movies, and Magneto's the bad guy of all 5 of them.
It's the same thing as the Wolverine movies. We keep trying it till we finally get it right. That's what it all kind of comes down to.
Well,
and
we get it right next to, we get it right in first class, we get it right here.
That's true.
I'm not saying it never works, I'm just saying...
Yeah, maybe it isn't that.
It's all we're doing.
But some of that is your prequel thing, you know. I mean, it's if you're gonna go back in time and make a movie about those characters, you've got to see him go dark. So it's hardly fair to lump First Class into that. What are you gonna do? He's Magneto.
I'm just talking about like you were involved in these previous movies. Maybe just don't have Magneto in your script, like from the get-go start without that.
Saying giant metal robots.
And he's a good Nixon.
He is.
He looks good. He's not too silly.
We now have 2 alternate history Nixons in superhero movies.
I think Nixon is maybe the hardest president to play. Because he's such...
It's hard not to make him a cartoon character.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say.
And I like the cartoon character version in Watchmen because that's a real heightened universe, so you should play it that way. So his nose should be as big as Delaware.
Futurama ruined Nixon.
Yeah.
He was such a larger-than-life guy in certain ways.
Frost Nixon is on my stack for He Made Me Watch.
It is.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what you think of what Langella did with it.
Oh, he's great.
He's great, yeah. Oh, did you not even know it was Langella?
I didn't know it was Langella.
Yeah, it's Langella.
Oh, he's great.
I should have saved that. I just figured you knew that, yeah.
He's the best Skeletor there's ever been.
Yes! That's not hard, but I love his Skeletor.
I like this. I think this is cool. Just like he's got the mirror and it's just a fun use of powers. I always appreciate it when there's a fun use of powers. That's cool too. But
yeah, and I always appreciate when we have downtime and we show what people on their off hours would be using their superpowers for. So yes, it's creative, but it's also downtime, and I like that a lot. We were gonna play chess again.
We were going to play chess again.
Forgot all about that.
Forgot about that. Why wouldn't you just stay the other person? I don't understand why you keep going back to this one form. I feel like people would find you. They're looking for you.
Well, in this particular case, it's so that the actress gets to play this role, and you got to give them that.
Yeah.
You want to see Fassbender and her actually have some screen time together, so that's gonna happen. Now, to be fair, she does keep changing hair color and stuff.
Does she?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I believe so.
I thought she was just blonde the whole movie.
I don't think so. I might be wrong though. I don't think she's blonde in that. Or maybe the hat obscures her hair enough.
Yeah, no, her hair's like up when it's.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm not sure about that, but if that's what they did with it, that helps some. Like,
I don't think that's what they do. I think she has blonde hair in.
Okay, I don't know. It's not like I get your complaint, and you just want to spend this entire commentary complaining about Jennifer Lawrence, which
that's not true. I'm going to do that in Apocalypse. That's not true.
Yeah. Yeah, but
there are real bad script problems with Apocalypse.
Yeah, but you're bringing it up a lot. Where you just every time she's not in blue makeup, you have some kind of a complaint at the screen.
Well, no, it's just she's going around doing all these terroristy things with the same face every time.
Yeah, and then
if this was the first time we saw her like this,
but if
it makes more sense, it's more impactful.
But if people are onto her, all she's got to do is never use that face again. Now, I guess the problem with that is that's the face she usually uses. Like that's the face she grew up with. Also, you could make the argument, this is not in the movie, that face is easier for her to hang on to without too much concentration. Remember we talked about the concentration thing?
She's used to it?
Because A, she's used to it, and B, it is her face without the blue. So she might not have to concentrate as hard because she doesn't have to think about the contours and...
I kept seeing Victor Hugo all over that train station, but I couldn't figure out what it was what like the ad was for. Like, is Les Mis around this time?
I don't know. I didn't notice him. There's this thing he does when he's nervous. And it's really cool, by the way, watching this after Split.
I was just thinking of Split.
Because he will come up with mannerisms or quirks for a particular character that is almost certainly not things he does himself in real life. And he has decided, and I meant to talk about this in the rewind, and I forgot about it, he has decided that when Xavier is really nervous and insecure, when he's at his lowest point, he sticks his tongue out a lot.
Interesting.
And now that I've mentioned it, you'll start to notice it.
Well, he did it like the second after you said it, so...
Oh, did he even the second after I said it?
Yeah.
The first big time I noticed it was at the beginning of the scene. I think he's even doing it earlier in the film.
He did it here. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
Like when they take blood from you, they take it here. They don't take it here. That's dangerous.
Even though they now kind of feel like different continuities and stuff, Logan is made more tragic by this movie. What we do with Xavier in that film.
Do you think the thing that we stick him with in Logan is supposed to be some version of this? I mean, he doesn't get his legs back, but is it possible that it's supposed to be built on this?
I guess it could be. I didn't think of that, yeah. Because it dampens his... But you're right, it doesn't give him his legs back. And then, is it possible that that what Wolverine injects himself with in order to heal better is like some kind of an opposite?
I don't know.
Of the same formula? Because that stuff, I don't think is just like healing factor in a bottle. It's supposed to enhance or restore your powers, I would assume.
Well, no, it's definitely a healing thing.
Is it just a healing thing?
Yeah, because when the kid gives it to him, like they've talked about them using it.
And then it does the same thing.
Yeah.
And he just happens to have healing factor. Okay.
So, I have a question about...
Never mind, that was a waste of time.
About this thing with Mystique's powers being the basis for the Sentinels.
Yeah.
When Mystique becomes someone, does she get their powers? Like, if she became Cyclops, can she shoot optic blast? If she became Storm, can she control the weather?
No.
So how do they get that? Or is it just like science building on that foundation?
Yeah, it's just building on it.
Okay.
It's that because the Sentinels aren't taking other mutants' powers and using them. They just have shape-shifting capabilities. And
well, but
so
like when the one touches Colossus, it gets Colossus's metal.
Is that what it does?
Yeah.
Okay, see, I didn't know for sure that that's what was supposed to be going on. That it was like an Animorph thing where it like where it like acquires.
I don't think it's acquiring them, but there seems to be a database of powers, and so when you're using fire, I'm using ice.
Exactly, right.
I don't know,
but I don't think there's any implication here that that we just took her power set and gave it to them. Remember, it takes like 50 years.
Yeah.
For them to derive that. Now, I always thought I've turned around on that. I become more okay with it over time. Initially, I really disliked that, and I was like, why wouldn't you just use Rogue? But we can't have this plot with Mystique. So then that does start to look like, oh, it had to be Mystique because of the mandates you were talking about.
Well, and while we have now learned with Apocalypse that they do not care about timelines, when we're making this movie, we care a little bit.
Yeah.
And so we're not going to use Rogue because that wouldn't make timeline sense. Now, if Rogue had showed up in Apocalypse, par for the course.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it becomes that Star Trek 09 thing where, well, we rebooted, we don't care how we rebooted. Now we can pretend like history happened entirely differently, even though we soft rebooted and tried to give everything to everyone.
No, we're back to the X2. We talked about how in X1, or I mean, First Class, we did the X1 version of the effect, where it was the black and white and the moving through.
And now they've graduated to this. Which is weird that you would go back to the X1 one, but whatever.
History's changing all the time. History takes time to change.
If I ever have to hear that again, man. So the First Class actors talked about how cool it was to get to see all of this now classic movie X-Men stuff in their world. That the round room Cerebro was a big deal for everybody.
I'd imagine.
And that it was just so cool to see all these things blend together because they didn't expect to get to this stuff. Did you see the tongue? They didn't think they would get to this stuff this quickly. And it doesn't feel rushed.
Here.
I love that line.
I feel like one of my students.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well that one's fair.
That was a mistake to free Eric.
I'm not sure what
I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have freed Eric.
What did he add to their plan? It's because he knows where Mystique is, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah. That's why they have to have
after
him.
that, you put him back. You have Quicksilver bring him up. You slap him around a little bit. You get the information. You put him back.
Yeah, but that would be really risky, and you might think that you need his powers for the rest of it.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
No, that's... I mean, you're right, but...
If he didn't trust Eric...
Yeah, but also, he is really insecure and unsure of himself, and he's afraid to make any choice at all. And he is even wondering if Eric wasn't right the whole time about everything.
Well, and I wonder because Wolverine's, Wolverine from the future, and he's been working with Magneto. He's probably softened on Magneto.
Yeah.
And so, in the past, he's also not going to be, like, super critical. Be like, well, maybe we shouldn't leave him out of prison.
You're talking about Wolverine?
Yeah, I'm talking about Wolverine.
Yeah, definitely. Because he knows the man he can become, and we don't really know what exactly the relationship is and how the Magneto in the future got to where he is, or if we could even trust him. Because that's one of the things I like about getting rid of the Magneto, the McKellen stuff, even though it's sad not to have McKellen much in this movie, I guess, for people. But I'm glad that we got rid of the road cut stuff with him, because any amount of time he's on screen, I'm just expecting him, like you were alluding to earlier, to double-cross everybody. You don't want him on screen too long, I don't think.
Okay. You spent a lot of time in this movie.
Yeah.
What is happening?
What do you mean, what is happening?
Okay. So he's in Wolverine's mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
He went through the funnel into Wolverine's mind. What is he doing here? How is he seeing this? Wolverine's still on that table.
Mm-hmm.
How is he doing? What is he seeing? How is he seeing?
He's seeing it through older Professor X's mind.
So he went through the time tunnel in Wolverine's mind, and then went to Professor X's mind? Older Professor X?
It doesn't really matter either way you slice it. Professor X would have the power to...
I guess he would sense that he's... Okay.
To see the room from anybody's head. Like,
okay.
This might be going through multiple heads. There's all kinds of ways it could work. But he has the power to do this. Any way you slice it, he could do this.
Okay. I mean, this is an amazing scene, but I've always had, like, logistical questions about, like... It's like whenever you shoot a dream...
Yeah.
And, like... There are
you're
things...
right. You want to know physically how exactly it's happening, but he's obviously, he's not physically there, and he would have to be projected somehow. It's really cool that this is one of the big things they sold the movie on, and it didn't disappoint.
Yes.
It's amazing that we get one scene with them looking like they're in the same room, and you might have, when you first heard about this concept, say, "Oh, cool, we're going to get to see older Professor X and younger Professor X run around and pal around together." That you see this movie, and at least, I don't think I've ever heard anybody complain about this.
You're not left wanting.
That I didn't find myself wanting that.
Yeah.
And importantly, it's not older Professor X's movie.
Mm.
And the film does a wonderful job of being a tribute to and a send-off for the original X-Men, without that taking over, and it always knows the power is back on. It's so good. Such a good line.
I do think it's weird that...
Yes, it is. What's up?
I mean, so that's what the X-Mansion looks like in 1973, and we don't advance it at all to 2000?
I don't have a problem with that.
Just asking.
It's a really cool aesthetic. Why would you change it?
It is a really cool aesthetic.
Why would you change it? But yeah, we never lose sight of whose movie this is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't feel like they decided to make a sequel to First Class with the First Class cast, but we keep taking the spotlight away from them because we've got the old actors and they're coming back and they're important. We're still telling their story. From
their perspective, that's the scary future that they're trying to prevent. And obviously, that is what happens. But I just love that, and I've talked about this, I love that we get to, more or less, with the exception of some continuity stuff that doesn't really work, some of the CG is really bad.
Yeah. I was going to say something, and I was like, I won't bring it up.
No, this is rough. There's some Power Rangers the movie stuff going on here. There's the mobile emitter again. But anyway, we get to see a continuity that becomes the scary future that we try to prevent in the comics. That in the comics, you're reading from the perspective of characters that encounter it, and here you're looking at it mostly through the eyes of the First Class cast, and especially Professor X. And I just think it's super cool that we get both.
I mean, that's kind of how it is in the Days of Future Past comic.
Is it?
Well, yeah, because
I just haven't looked at that in a long time.
Because you've got the future stuff, but it's all just Kitty Pryde telling them about it in the past, and then trying to stop the assassination of Senator Kelly. That Mystique is the one that is perpetrating. That is her introduction, I believe.
But I guess what I'm saying is, there wasn't a time where you were reading. This is loopy, but there wasn't a time where you were reading a history that you thought was the regular history that was going to matter, and then it becomes scary, and then we go back in time and we pave over it.
I see what you mean.
I think it's so cool that we do both.
Well, and one of the things Claremont always talks about...
It's the neatest way to soft reboot. We did the Star Trek 09 thing right, and then we wasted it.
One of the things that Claremont always talks about, and this is one of those things where, like, I don't know if it's genuine or if it's just a thing that Claremont's been saying for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that he likes to talk about is that when he was writing X-Men, again, I don't know if this is actually true, if it's a cool thought he had later, but when he was writing X-Men, he was always building to Days of Future Past. That was not an averted future. We still always had the potential to end up there in... this movie comes out in 2014.
Yeah.
Mistake. 2015 is when the comic is set. You release it in 2015. But he talks about how There's another
reason we should have done that, too.
Why?
because it's the 15th anniversary of this franchise, and you made a tribute film.
This should have come out the following year.
I've never mentioned this anywhere. I had to rewrite a whole paragraph when I did the
because you assumed it was the 15th anniversary.
Because and you've done it too. I always think X-Men was released in '99. It wasn't. It was 2000. And if it was released in '99, this is the 15th anniversary,
But
and
wasn't.
this timeline thing gets really cool because the math works out such that I'm trying to remember what exactly it was. Where we jumped ahead like a particular number of years that lined up with that somehow. I haven't thought about this in a while. But if it was the 15 years, all are cool. If memory serves, but this is 2023. This comes out in 2014. I don't remember what that whole thing was now, but anyway, the airport scene is where this deviates.
All 3 networks.
Yeah, that's great. Is where this deviates from the road cut.
Is this where the scene where she comes back and talks to Beast is? Okay.
And this is later in the film.
Okay.
They did a really good job of finding a way to hobble that back together without it looking hobbled back together. It's really cool. Where they just go back in and they add the flight pass thing so that he knows where she's going. That's handled differently in the road cut, and I don't think they even had to do any reshoots. Or if... Yeah, I mean, because there's not
They probably just use a reaction shot from that lady.
Yeah.
And then... I really like
we've seen that done really poorly, and where it's obvious that something changed, and you can tell that they just wanted to make the movie tighter, and they were like, she's not getting on the airplane to in the road cut to go straight to Washington, and that was a mistake. I think I'm really glad that we lost the stuff with her and Hank. He gets thrown way under the bus. I don't understand why he's... It ends up kind of being his fault that Cerebro gets messed up. And, like, I get that he is vulnerable to her and stuff, but Professor X doesn't ask him any questions later, and there's not any questioning of his loyalty, and there really kind of ought to be. But anyway, in the Rogue version, I'm glad that we don't have that here. But in that cut, it's a little bit more convoluted, where she gets on the airplane to go here, and then she goes from here back to Washington. And in this version, so when she's in the airport there, the actress thinks she's going to Westchester. Or is it West? Am I right about that? Westchester.
Yes, Westchester.
But that's not actually what it is.
I really like the that scene. I talked over it because I was talking about Chris Claremont and things Chris Claremont says.
See, he's got the balls again.
Yep.
That's great.
But I really like the okay. I really like Professor Xavier talking to him for all these. It's a really cool scene, right? It is incredibly morally ambiguous what he is doing to these people.
I'm sorry, what scene are we talking about right now?
The scene where he's talking to her from different people throughout the airport. Great scene, really cool.
He gets
Don't think about it, it's terrifying.
No, you're right. You're right.
That is not the helmet we last saw you with.
No, it doesn't have the horns.
It did, and it doesn't have the purple. It's not as cool.
And he's not gonna have.
And I don't think it's even the exact same design. Like the face bit is different than it was in.
Yeah.
I
don't know why we did that. So apparently, if glass shatters in this film, it's gonna be in slow motion.
It's gonna be dramatic.
That's right. And once again, Wolverine's got to be an airplane on almost every film. He's not in one in Logan.
No.
Spoiler alert: he's not in an airplane.
That movie's too serious for silly
airplanes.
For silly airplane jokes.
What? There doesn't have to always be silly airplane jokes. It's just we always put him on a plane.
And he's always uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
he's always silly. Oh, it's worse! It's worse! I always think of this... remember these names?
Yeah, it's Storm
Gene,
first.
Scott, Storm. He starts with Storm. He says a not real name first.
Yeah, and here's the thing: just make it another character. Make it Rogue, you know, because and you can use her name because we know what her name is. You can say Marie. It's okay.
Yeah.
The thing is, I mean, honestly, if he had said Rogue, you wouldn't complain as much. Even if he said Rogue, because that's what everybody called her, and she didn't like to go by Marie. Storm's a horse of a different color.
Well, it can't be Rogue.
But it can't be Storm either, because we've never heard of Roro in these films, and nobody would know what you're talking about. That's why they did that.
I'm pretty sure we've said her name is Aurora.
I think we have said her name somewhere, but she's never been directly referred to that way, and fans of these movies that don't know the comics would not know about that.
It's still dumb, though. I'm not wrong.
No,
she's not going by that name.
I complained about it in the rewind. I'm totally with you.
And no, it can't be Rogue. It has to be Storm because we're looping back around to the original trilogy.
It's about the original X-Men that are going to be in the mansion and running the school. Yeah. No, you're right. What am I talking about? But there are other ones of those. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I don't think there are any. Not in the film continuity.
No, that's true. Because you couldn't even do it with Bobby. He's another generation.
Yeah, we are told that those three are some of his first students.
He needs to do two things. First of all, he needs to say their entire names. Because how do you know that now that the timeline has been altered, butterfly effect, how do you know you're even going to run into them? How does remembering the names... Now, he might be thinking that's all he needs because Xavier is telepathic, he can get on Cerebro, he can figure out who they are. Also,
he doesn't know who they're going to be. He's nothing to go on.
Yeah, he does, though. And I talked about this, too. He does have his powers back.
Mm-hmm.
Anything Wolverine says gets to the surface of his mind. So you can't extrapolate from that he has more information potentially. There is that.
Okay.
It's still a line I don't like. I still think it's kind of dumb. But I was going to say the other thing, write it down on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Remember these names: Gene, Scott, Wheels. One of the other scenes that you need for the definitive cut of this film that does not exist is the paraplegic. I don't know if you know about that or if you remember that.
I don't.
It's in the Rogue cut. There's this great bit where when they come in to sit down, Professor X rolls up next to a paraplegic that was in Vietnam, and they're talking about how it happened, and he says friendly fire, and Xavier responds with worst kind. How is that not in your movie? It's brilliant.
So, this is the greatest thing we have ever done with a baseball field.
Yeah.
We're like at Sports Arena. We go to Sports Arena for Mass Destruction a lot.
A lot.
This is the best one.
Mm-hmm. And it looks really good, and very little of this was real.
Oh, interesting. There's Mountain Dew.
Which bothers me because of how bad some of that Sentinel stuff looked when we went in and out of it. Well, of course there's Pepsi. Pepsi is Mountain Dew.
So,
that's one company getting product placement.
I don't know if you talked about this in the rewind.
But like that's all obviously because that's how you have to do it. That's all green screen, but it looks great.
Well, okay. I know you wouldn't talk about this in the rewind. It doesn't affect the rewind, but I don't know if you talked about this in the other commentary.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the Sentinel designs?
Yeah.
And how you assume that they weren't done?
Well, remember earlier, I started to say Empire Magazine. That's where I was going to go with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I did a video when Empire Magazine did their covers, I almost collected those covers. I was so excited about this movie. I almost went out and bought all those magazines, but they're like $9 or $10 a piece, so I didn't do that. But
weren't there like 20 covers?
That's why I didn't do that. And they did it with Apocalypse too, and then it was like not great. But but they have a cover that has a Sentinel with a scaffolding leading up to it. One of these 73 Sentinels. Looks just like what we're looking at now. And there is what looks like either someone cleaning it or a technician, which I assumed meant that they weren't finished. Because not only do they look like unfinished Sentinels, but there's scaffolding. It's like a universal sign of not done.
I don't love the future designs. I hate these designs.
Oh, you do?
The future designs are fine.
I'll tell you in a second what my problem is with
the Is it the giant fans on their chest? Because that's dumb.
No, it's not. Not for.
I know that's
not for that period of technology. I actually like them as a consummate '70s kind of design. No, my issue with them is that they're painted purple. Because yeah, I get it. Comic book Sentinels, they're doing this big giant patriotic thing.
Oh, they should be red, white, and blue.
They should be red, white, and blue. I don't like that.
Honestly, I would probably hate these Sentinels significantly less if their heads were right.
Yeah.
Why can't their heads just be right?
I don't know. And we did one in X3.
Yeah.
And then finally we get Sentinels, and they look like this. I don't know why they look like this.
I don't need this Robbie the Robot face. Give me a Sentinel face. It doesn't look any weirder or sillier than the face you designed.
I just don't know why you made it like that, yeah.
Yeah, no, it should be Sentinel heads, and you need to get away from the giant fan chests, because they're weird, and I don't believe that they can lift that entire robot body, and they can move like Iron Man when all their only source of flight is this.
But yeah, just for the sake of this scene, and thematically, what
they should be red, white, and blue. You're right.
Stand for, because we make America really, really scary when we say the American and patriotic thing to do is to destroy an entire segment of our population. I want them to be red, white, and blue. Oh look, floating coffins. The floating coffins are weird.
It's an interesting design choice.
They're coffins because the Sentinels represent death, right? Like they're coffins.
I don't think we're all gonna fit in this tiny little security room. It's not my name.
Thank you for remembering my name! I always thought Bishop had the dumbest
legal
power.
name I changed in 1980.
I like iterations of Bishop. I think this guy could have been amazing.
I think so, too.
I think he was such a good casting choice. Again, I'm so mad that he doesn't have more lines because he has just the best accent. But I love the dreadlocks. His whole look is fantastic. But I always thought Bishop, born in the wrong era, has the most useless power. Thank God he came from the future where people are shooting energy beams at you constantly. Because there's a good chance you wouldn't even know you were a mutant. If you're born in the 1600s, how would you ever know? If you get struck by lightning one time, like, psh, whoa, that was crazy, and then you can never do it again.
He's part of the 90s. Where everyone's mutant power was energy blast.
Yeah.
Although, one thing that I've always thought was really cool about Bishop's power, Bishop does not shoot energy. That is not Bishop's power. He absorbs energy, and he can concentrate in his fists, and then he has a gun that takes that energy and shoots it. He's just like an energy punching dude that technology has let him do more.
Here's the thing. Because I haven't read a lot of things with Bishop, if it turns out that Bishop can take energy from other places and then do that, okay, but if it's you have to shoot him first, that's a real specific, not all that useful power.
Well, it's like he can't stand like a power outlet and draw it from it, but like, I mean, you're right. In the 1600s, there was no way to get energy.
He would never,
but he could, I believe, take like a downed power line and energize power.
But regardless, Magneto would still call him a god among insects.
Well, yeah.
That doesn't look good.
And near his helmet. Oh man, if they just kept the helmet. No, I can't explain to you what's happening. A sports arena just dropped around the White House? I'm going home. You get the army in here. I didn't sign up for this.
And I really like that it's now Magneto that makes all of this a lot worse.
So we're about to have what I think is the most unintentionally funny. Well, it's not. It's nice. I laughed in the theater.
You would have.
Yes. And we try to make it seem like anyone cares.
Yeah.
No one cares. I think people that probably like Halle Berry as an actress do not care about her in the X-Men movies.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, like, it's kind of like it is funny. It's kind of what? It's kind of like the Star Wars prequel thing, where it's like, give me character traits about that character. What is she? You know, it's just there's nothing to her. I care more when Bishop dies.
Or Blink. I care so much when Blink dies because she has the coolest power, like visually.
Obviously,
my face could do that.
Obviously, he doesn't get a lot to do in this either. But I really like Iceman in this.
We mentioned this in the Hulk. Once again, how do you beat someone that absorbs energy? Apparently, you just give them energy, and eventually they will have a boiling point and explode.
Yeah, weird.
That is how we always beat those people. Just like if you have like unbreakable skin, it's always your eyes or your mouth. That's how you beat people like that. If they absorb energy, you just keep giving them energy, and eventually they'll explode. That's how that works.
I mean, I can see a certain logic to that, I guess.
But it's every time. Like, it's not clever anymore. We've been doing it since the 70s.
I think you just meant it kind of doesn't make sense, and why do we keep doing it?
No, my question is...
There's not some other way to take that kind of person out? Yeah. Wow, I never thought in subtitles I would see the phrase Sunspot screaming.
Oh? Oh, yeah, that is Sunspot. We might get him again. He's a new mutant. I think he's a new mutant. I can't remember. I think he's a new mutant. There's a heat-based new mutant whose name, I believe, begins with Sun.
I love that exchange a lot. I really like that we give him some motivation to try to change things because Beast, because he kind of believes in a fixed timeline. He's not. He doesn't have the optimism that Professor X has had and regains, and he always needs reinforcement. I like that he is still a student. I mean, like he still has a long way to go. And Wolverine is just always so in character, which is a weird thing to praise a thing for, but I like that this is not his movie, but he's always serviceable and is always himself. So, when he asks, do I make it, and he's that candid and just says no. I love that.
That was a real clean break. He went right through that window. Okay, so this is a thing,
he puts the metal in him.
He puts the metal in him in the exact placement that he takes the metal out of him in the 90s comics when he rips all the adamantium out.
Oh, interesting.
When we lift him up, if you look at a side-by-side comparison of that and Wolverine getting all of the adamantium ripped out of him, it's the same placement in his body where it comes out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, I'm playing devil's advocate here, because I'm kind of with you on that earlier line. But does this not make that maybe a little better?
That's exactly what it looks like when the metal's coming out of him. No, it doesn't make it better.
But I'm just asking, because like he thinks to put the metal in him because he had a fleeting thought about it. You know?
No, I think it's just a dumb line. Because he would have done that to anyone. It's not because he has metal. It's not because he has bone claws.
No!
It's because here's some metal.
No, but
here you go.
But he does put the metal in him partly because it's a callback to he's always throwing Wolverine around with metal.
Now, but I can get that without that.
But you don't think that's a problem?
No,
like that he puts the metal.
No,
in
I don't
and
think that's a problem.
Like that?
What I think is it's not an actual narrative problem. It just makes me feel real bad.
Yeah.
After this point, Kitty Pryde doesn't have to worry.
Yeah, I talk about that in the rewind.
Poor Kitty Pryde.
Well, there are a couple of points that you could argue Wolverine could have snapped back and maybe the things still work out okay even before that. Mm-hmm. I like to think that Wolverine saying we can change that to Beast is important. That he maybe needs to be there for that.
Okay, so Mystique just tried to murder the president.
And I have a whole thing about that.
About Mystique trying to murder the president?
No, the just thing I just was talking about.
Sorry.
There's more to it, but I'm not going to talk about it right now. Go ahead.
Because Mystique just tried to murder the president.
That's right.
That's important to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep talking about it as the scene progresses.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, no, that's real important.
It's real important that Mystique tries to murder the president.
Sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's a hero now.
And now, I have not watched this since Apocalypse came out, so I'm real interested to see what heroic she does.
Oh, no, it's exactly what you remember.
Okay. Okay.
No, it doesn't work.
Okay.
Speaking as a person that has watched this an unhealthy number of times...
There's no such thing.
I don't think so either. I think this is such a wonderful film. Like I said, I'm so excited that 3 more movies in this continuity after this, and it's not yet ruined for me.
Well, it's just a good movie. A good movie's a good movie.
Yeah.
This is not...
Yeah, but I thought it might be kind of bittersweet because one of my favorite things about this movie is how it ends and my anticipation for the future, and I don't get that anymore. And I really thought that was going to hurt my enjoyment of the whole thing. That's one of the most favorite things ever. Yeah.
They tear glass in half. I love that.
I feel like they shot that real dark on purpose because it's a PG-13 movie and like it looks real rough, but you're looking at it kind of in shadow. So look at the face. Look at the face.
You're right. Well, and his sister there, she's wearing red earlier because she's Scarlet Witch.
Yep. But they can't actually do that, so they just have a character that is that, but they don't name her that. I want someone to walk up to him after this speech and do the Falcon thing and say, did you plan that? Or did you have it all? Or did you make it up off the top of your head?
I thought you were saying you want someone to walk up to him and go, cut the check!
That was a good take! Fassbender, cut the check! That guy, the kid before we get to him, is we see older.
Is he the toxic guy
at the beginning? No, well, I think he might be, but I was gonna say we see him in the future at the beginning of the film.
Okay.
Which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it until the rewind viewing, and I don't think I talked about that in the rewind, but I thought it was really cool that.
I'm so sad when she dies. She has such a cool power.
There's some great attention to detail.
And she doesn't get to talk much, but I think she does a lot with what she's given.
Yeah, I think so too. And she has really cool color hair.
Yeah. I want her to come back. I know it doesn't make sense. Like, well, I mean, we don't care anymore. The same actress could show up in...
He's hardly in this movie. We just got to mention this. McKellen acts the crap out of the scene.
Oh, yeah.
And I love his dumbfounded scowl through the whole time he's on screen. It's like... The future is ruined and we lost and oh my god. And I'm doing everything I can do.
Now I've waited 4 films.
It almost looks like McKellen's like, I can't believe I'm still in these movies, but it works.
I've waited 4 films. You're always pointing out like this person's in Star Trek and this person's in Star Trek.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. The actor that plays Professor X in the future. Is Captain Picard.
Is he really?
From Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I never noticed that. Is it the same guy in the movies? Because I was always wondering about that.
I don't know. I would assume they would keep the cast, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe he might play the evil him in Nemesis, because that would be like the TV version is fighting the movie version. You know, it's funny, it's got all the guns, because you only need one. Also, how can you aim all those at once?
Once again,
I like this. That's a cool thing, that, like, it's programming, that's a mutant.
Once again, this movie, giving us the audience some credit, we already know quite a bit before she turns that it's her, and, we're not making a big deal out of, oh my god, it's Mystique, like... They tell you that before the transformation happens.
Okay, so... Is this supposed to be the out?
That everybody... That we pause
But cameras aren't paused.
Yeah, the cameras aren't paused.
No.
And they should be able to see all of this.
No one would watch this and then say, she's a hero.
The only way that works is if he made the camera operators turn the cameras off. And I don't think he did that. Or if he did, we're not told.
Yeah, because he's not concerned about people seeing this. He's concerned about them reacting and doing something stupid that's going to cause her to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
No, the entire world sees this. Apocalypse is garbage. Like, building off a hero?
So, this is the last movie I want to do this in, and I apologize, but I will be right back. Give me just a minute.
She's gonna leave me alone in the Jennifer Lawrence scene?
I know, I'm sorry. You can do all the complaining you want to now.
Her ego is so large. It's as big as Ego the Living Planet. A huge part of Apocalypse being bad is that she has to be the most important person in the world. And it doesn't match with this at all. People watch someone not murder someone and decided that they're a hero. Oh, it's the worst. You know, we haven't talked about the fact that Kitty Pryde has time travel powers. We should talk about that when Cap gets back. I really want my face to, like, open up like that and shoot a big beam out of it. We got back to Wolverine underwater like he can, like he knows what's going on, like he knows that there's this big dramatic moment happening, like, you know, a couple of miles away. Like, he doesn't know. Oh, it's because of this. It's because he's okay. That girl chose not to murder us. Perhaps we should make her a hero. She takes his helmet. Does he get his helmet back in Apocalypse? I'm gonna have to remember that. I didn't remember that she takes his helmet. So, Mystique takes Magneto's helmet. Says he's all yours, Charles.
Yeah.
How does he get that back in Apocalypse? Does Apocalypse just make him a new helmet?
I don't remember.
We should watch that when we watch Apocalypse.
Yeah. I think you were just going to say, we should watch that movie, find out.
Well, no, we shouldn't. No one should watch that movie after watching this movie. I don't care whether you like Apocalypse or not. You shouldn't watch it back-to-back with this movie.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a great experience. Now that we have...
I'm gonna go have a family and never think about this again.
And we have... And I'm comparing these a lot for, I think, good reason, but... We have these three movies, and we have 3 Star Trek movies now, and we have a weird kind of quality flip thing that goes on there, where First Class is great, and 09 is just okay, I think, and then Darkness is crazy, and this is the greatest thing on the planet, and then Beyond is the best of them.
Aren't you inspired by her and how heroic she's being?
Yeah, here's the thing. Obviously, what she does is heroic, but that's not what
it's on
the
a
rest of the
deeper
world should see.
personal level. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, and even if they somehow or rather recognize what's going on and they appreciate it because they listen to all of Professor X's dialogue and at least he's saying it out loud and it's not in her head.
That's not how the media's going to spin it.
You wouldn't think so. I have a hard time with that. Like he's right when he says all you've done so far is save the lives of these men. That's true. Her aiming a gun is not the same thing as firing a gun. She doesn't actually fire the gun. Okay. But, I don't see how that translates to the rest of the world. The odds of that radio playing the exact same song from when he woke up in 73 is really unlikely, I think.
Oh no, I've got stuck in some kind of Groundhog's Day loop.
Except sometimes it's the future. But you see what I'm saying? Like, as you see all the time, I don't think people would see that as she's this big hero. So Rogue is in this movie for 5 seconds.
Yep, and that is the biggest, like, screw you, X-Men 3, I'm setting this right.
Yeah, no, it is. Absolutely. And there's
So
Colossus.
Do you want to talk about this in Apocalypse?
Yeah, sure.
So when Apocalypse comes up, Bryan Singer says, this is not the future. It is not set in stone. This is a potential, possible future. Because anyone's up for grabs. Anyone could die in Apocalypse. No one dies in Apocalypse. Spoilers. No one dies in Apocalypse. But this is not the future. Why are we even seeing... I mean...
It's just
creative space when you're making this, to creative space making, you know, your next film or whatever. I know that from moment to moment people aren't the same people, but... Yeah, this is a glorified... taking a bow.
Yeah.
This is not the ending of this movie moving forward.
Yeah, and that's a problem. Here's the thing. If this is supposed to be just a possible future, you have to do something that changes it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense that he would... That's a cop-out. It does not make sense that he would snap back to just some possible future. No, he snaps back to the future that he made possible. And yes, it's a real happy ending, and this ultimately ends up being a really feel-good kind of movie. And X-Men does time travel stuff all the time. Yeah, but it's funny future craziness. I love the amount of time, because it felt like forever in the theater. You watch it again, and it's not. I love the amount of time they make you wait before you see Jean, and the way they frame it, where you think it might not actually be her, and it could turn and be someone else. Mm-hmm. And it would have been ridiculous if she turned and it wasn't her, but I just like that they make you wait for it and wonder for a little bit, and throwing Kelsey Grammer in there was genius.
And he also said he wanted to come back and play Beast again, in properly, like in a movie.
Yeah, but my point is, that's really cool in leading up to that, because now it's possible. They've thrown you that bone. Throughout the scene, you're getting cameos, and you're like, oh, it might actually be her, and you still don't expect Scott. And so, it's really neat the way that was framed. Also, the Kelsey Grammer thing is really cool because, remember, Beast is supposed to die.
And it's also...
We can change that,
it's also
Wolverine says. They did.
The one bit of casting that Singer did on 3 before he left was cast Kelsey Grammer as Beast.
But I love that there's a story thing there. It's not just a just a cameo. Yeah. It matters that it's Beast.
So this is actually not going to be as simple as it seems in this scene.
What do you mean?
Okay, so you have a lot to catch up on, right? But this Xavier did not experience the future that the other Xavier experienced, right?
Right.
He doesn't know what's different. Him and Wolverine are just going to have to hash it out.
He can just read his mind and know all that.
Okay, you're right. I didn't think of that. Okay. Yep, nope.
It's
not as silly as I want it to be.
He just read his mind to find out what's been going on. Oh, okay. I see. Welcome back. In fact, not only can he just did. He already knows all of it. So, this is one of the coolest endings to a movie ever because of all of the nifty questions I'm asking, and they just can't stick with it. They can't. And here's the thing, Singer's, he looks like Sabretooth there. Singer's cop out about the ending, and we can do whatever we want to, and that's not like. I still say just don't do that if that's your whole thing. But he does the same thing with this, and this happens. So no, just 8 shades of no.
Well, this was just a cool thing that we thought up to throw in at the end.
Yeah, and how do you not know that you're making the audience ask all kinds of questions, and they're really excited to see this moving forward? If this is just a standalone piece. And we're not supposed to be...
I didn't realize it was the last shot of the movie!
No, it's the last shot of the movie!
It's the last shot of the movie!
No, it's a big deal! It's a cliffhanger! That's my point!
Oh, man!
Why do you think all I could talk about was... What is she doing? Is she starting a Weapon X program? And here's the thing. That makes Apocalypse so much worse.
It makes it so much worse.
It's not just because they pretend like she wasn't there. It's not all that. It's because you get to the end, and she still looks... different. She still looks like a potentially morally ambiguous character. She's she's not going with Magneto, but she might not be doing what X would want her to either. She's going her own way. She's going on a third path. She's kidnapped Wolverine, maybe, and pretends to be Stryker. What happens after that? And then Apocalypse. So not only is it just, I obviously want to and would expect you to follow up on that. You basically made a cliffhanger out of it. But secondly, we're pretending like she's a hero to the world, or to the mutant world at the beginning of the next movie. No, you just told me that she's... I mean, unless she has a heroic plan for all of that, you just told me that she might be starting up her own Weapon X program or something.
And if you're gonna do the hero thing, if you're gonna spin it, then the thing has to be, oh no, she's not a hero.
Yeah.
That has to be the realization.
Exactly.
It cannot be, you looked like a monster on television, we're going to pretend you didn't and say you're heroic. Like, if you're going to spin it that way...
And then your whole character arc is realizing you're too hard on yourself.
Yeah, that you're just the best person ever.
Yeah.
If you're going to spin that way, then the reveal to the other characters that look up to her need to be that she's bad.
Yeah.
And even then, that's still not dealing with the ending of your movie. I didn't remember that it was the last shot of the movie. I thought it was one of, in a montage about how... And the fact that the dialogue over top of it is basically telling you, the audience, we're going to do things differently, and don't expect it to be the exact same thing that you got before. We're going another way.
Yeah.
We're doing stuff different. And they don't do anything different, and I already don't like the Weapon X stuff in Apocalypse.
Yeah.
It's 1,000 times worse, because that was the thing that they promised us would be different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's exactly the same. Oh! How could people like Apocalypse? I guess as a standalone piece, I mean, I don't like it as a standalone piece, but maybe...
That's the thing is...
But as a follow-up to this...
I've talked to some folks that enjoy these movies casually, and I can totally understand why you would like that movie, enjoying these casually. Maybe forgetting what happens in this movie, not being as invested as I am. This was a big frickin' deal.
Apocalypse was my most anticipated movie last year for superhero movies.
And the way... And the way Singer and everybody involved talked about it, they sounded just as passionate for that project as they were for this. And I don't know what went wrong. It's like the Skyfall thing going into Spectre. Just how could that happen?
The thing that looks like the most to me is Jurassic Park: The Lost World. Steven Spielberg always talks about, he starts making that movie.
This grim future theme is also brilliant. And mixed in with the Professor Xavier theme, which is just the saddest and tragic, but then becomes optimistic, just like what happens in the film. I don't know. It's
But
the score.
Steven Spielberg talks about making The Lost World, where he was really excited to make Lost World. And
you brought this up before, yeah.
And I don't know if you know this. The book The Lost World is made because of Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, no, right.
He says, I want to make a sequel.
Him to write that book.
Yeah. And then halfway through that movie, he realized, I don't want to make this movie.
Yeah.
That's what Apocalypse feels like. It feels like Bryan Singer was so excited to be back to X-Men and to make a movie that was critically and financially successful. For the first time in years, he made a movie that was critically and financially successful, and everyone was real excited, and he was real excited. And then I think he realized he doesn't want to make X-Men movies.
Yeah.
Because he does an interview around Apocalypse that really hurts my feelings.
I feel like we're burning out a lot of what we're going to want to say when we watch Apocalypse. I wouldn't... Maybe we shouldn't have gone to that place. But...
It's real hard not to at the end of this movie.
Yeah, because it's so bittersweet. I mean,
it's actually all over again.
Kind of. I mean, all I can do... It is. Because all I can do is think about possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And then he finally gets to make his third X-Men movie, and he makes that mistake, really? But yeah, the first place my mind goes...
Champagne.
What?
Luke Champagne. Somebody's name was Luke Champagne. Sorry.
The first place my mind goes, when I see what happened to Apocalypse is, well, you shouldn't have rushed it. You only had 2 years. I can't believe you rushed it. Take 4. And then, okay, how could you have fixed this problem if for whatever reason you had to get it out then? make them together. Okay, that would have been a logistical nightmare. You couldn't have made them together. It's amazing that this film is as cohesive as it is, and that it came together at all because of scheduling conflicts. That's a thing Singer and the cast talk about a lot, that getting all of these actors together for their scenes was really tough. Certain actors they got for one day. It was the only possible day they could do it. You have to make sure the sets are ready. You have to make sure that the other actors can be there. So you couldn't have made them together, which means you should have waited.
Yep.
Oh, this is interesting. I'm listening to the score. This sounds a lot like the Krypton theme in Man of Steel.
Does Zotman do Man of Steel? No, it's Zimmer. Zimmer does Man of Steel,
Zimmer.
obviously.
Yeah. But this sounds just like it. Or really similar, anyway.
It's the same year, before or after?
No, this is the year after.
Okay.
Yeah, Man of Steel comes out in 2013.
Oh, man, we're in 2014. We're 2 years away.
Yeah.
From today.
Coming up on 2.5 now, but yeah.
Yeah.
If we'd ended on time.
Well, we're
But
not coming up on 2.5. We're about 4 months away from 2.5.
Yeah, but I don't know, we're already this far into 2017, and this was a beginning of the year project. But we're getting it done.
Yeah.
We're back to daily, they're coming out.
We're almost done.
Guardians is next.
Yeah. We know that for sure.
Which is gonna be is another movie that I really like, but I haven't watched enough.
Yeah,
I don't know it real
super
well
either. And then we'll get to Ultron that I know very well.
That I don't. Ooh, that's real sinister.
It's robots lumbering.
I wasn't sure if it was that or if you were being a marionette.
Or Frankenstein. Frankenstein moves like this sometimes.
A Frankenstein marionette. Yeah.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? The Sandman score.
Yeah. Yeah. Brrrr. And then here comes Apocalypse.
What's interesting about Apocalypse is doing this right up front, we're telling you we're doing something different.
Yeah.
We are not... This is not as hard a science fiction as the original X-Men films were. We're willing to go bigger and a bit more out there.
And we're going to keep doing alternate history going all the way back.
And theoretically, Apocalypse could have been the character where they could have told the Dark Phoenix story that they wanted to tell. It's a godlike being.
Yeah.
You could have really actually done something that resembled your X-Men 3. And the themes and ideas you were
not
with
Jean Grey, obviously.
Not with Jean, but the themes and ideas. Someone told me a story about seeing this in theaters, and someone was like, "Who are those guys?" And it's like, or no, it's, "Who's that?" That's Apocalypse. "Who are those guys?" "Well, those are his horsemen." And then they're like, there was something where they were like really confused. Where they're like, "And who are they?" "Well, they're the horsemen of Apocalypse."
Yeah.
Just not getting it.
It's just well, they probably assumed. I mean, whoever you were talking to might not even realize how far back in time you went, even though that should be kind of clear. But like, they were probably like, "Well, what characters are they?" "Well, no, he has different horsemen." As you move along,
read the Bible.
Who knows
or
those
anything? Who
knows who those particular people are? Okay, that was weird.
It's interesting that we opened up with a shot of Rogue.
Yeah, well, that makes me think that. Well, what I was going to say is, since this came on this set, I was thinking no, that's exactly what they did. They took the same menu
And put it on both.
But what's weird about that is, why wouldn't you just take... Okay, that's not what they did. That's really strange. That says disc 2, which means they made a different disc than
with
the
same
one that
movie.
with the same movie, when you could have just taken the disc that you packaged alone before this, but they didn't do that.
I do really like Rogue's costume.
Oh, it's great. And
It
I
might
like
be
her.
my favorite of the future costumes.
I like her in the Rogue God.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And it's worth watching.
Yeah,
I just don't think
absolutely.
I just don't think it's as good as this cut, and it just meanders some.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, this was fun as always.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna get sick of this movie. It's just wonderful. Oh, that score! I'm probably gonna go listen to that score later. Oh boy, I love this movie. Guardians, I'm looking forward to. That's a really fun. We're into the fun movies now, I guess. We're into a stretch of some fun movies because Amazing we had fun with too.
Guardians, Ultron, Ant-Man.
Yeah, I mean, Ultron's heavier.
Yeah.
But there's still obviously fun to be had. Well, and this has its heavy things too. So, you know, it's not the high octane, kind of quirky fun that you've got with Guardians. But anyway, well, we will do that for you tomorrow. And in the meantime, I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
Thanks for watching.
The fun will just keep on rolling into Apocalypse and
yeah,
and Civil War.